to the Purple Positivity Podcast for May the 9th, 2018. I am your host, the amazingly adorable Rebecca Thistle, podcasting to you live-ish from my kitchen/dining room table in my apartment, which I call Jeffrey Thistlework. Yes, I'm very tired right now. But it's payday, so yay. So, I don't know if anyone listening to this had similar experiences. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have. But when I was growing up, I grew up in the Methodist Church, and every year on Christmas Eve, we had our candlelight service. It was usually at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And at some, and of course, talk about the Christmas story and the nativity and all that stuff, and sing some songs, and it's wonderful. But then towards the end of the service, wait, let me back up. At the beginning of the service, everybody got a little candle. And, but then towards the end of the service, one of the ushers would light someone's candle, and then they'd light the candle of the person next to them, and then that person would light the candle of the person next to them, and, and it's pass the flame around until the whole congregation had a light. It had a lit candle. It's always very pretty and very lovely. Well, I had the real life version of that, less like arsony version of that, happened to me on Monday. So I had an appointment with my therapist Monday, and I was sitting in the waiting room with a purse full of chicken, which I still think is like a really groovy name for a band. A purse full of chicken. Because my appointment was at noon, and so I went. I took the bus, and I ran over to the Sonic about a block or two away from my counselor's office, and I got some popcorn chicken and flirted with the car hub. And then walked over to my counselor's office. I didn't have time to eat, so I was like, my counselor's not going to care. I'll eat while I'm talking to him, and it'll be awkward, but awesome. And as I'm sitting in the waiting room with this purse full of chicken and a large Diet Dr. Pepper, because that's what I do. And there's this other lady in the waiting room. And I guess because I was so happy about flirting with the car hop, she got a good vibe off of me. And so she says to me, "I really like your hair. It's very pretty," which is how most conversations with me start these days. I love it. And anyways, we get to talking. Her name's Sheryl. And Sheryl started telling me her story, and I don't, obviously that's her story to tell and not my place to explain what's been going on in her life. But suffice to say, she's been going through some really, really difficult times, and it has left her feeling so depressed that she borders on being suicidal sometimes. And I said to her, "Look, I'm a total stranger, but I want you to know, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I'm glad you're here, and I think this world is a better place for it." And I think that meant a lot to her. So I started telling her about, the specifics of the things going on in my life. And I said, I've been going through a really rough time. I went through especially back in November, December, it was seriously the darkest time in my life. And I was passively suicidal back then. And I told her about this podcast, and I told her about, how I know that this world and this life is full of bullshit. But I believe well and truly 100%. I mean, I didn't swear, okay? But I well and truly believe that if you've got hope and determination, and if you hang on, and if you fight through, you can take that bullshit and you can turn it into fertilizer, and you can help yourself grow into something beautiful. And she goes, wow, I never really thought of it that way. And I was like, yeah. But anyways, we continued talking. We talked for about like 15 minutes or something while she was waiting on her counselor. And at some point she said, I don't have a lot of friends here in town, and and so I get really lonely. Well, she's got her son living with her right now. And and I don't normally do this, so please nobody actually try. But I pulled out my I carry a little notebook with me everywhere, because I never know when I'm going to need to write something down. Well, I pulled it out, and I wrote down my name and my number, and I ripped out the page, and I handed it to her, and I said that's my number. I can't guarantee that I will always answer the phone, but I will always get back to you, and I'm always willing to listen. And, now you've got a friend. And, and so I was thinking about this morning. No, wait, before I go on with that. So, in conversation, she went in and talked to her counselor. I went in and talked to my counselor, and we never the twain shall meet, right? What twain? The twain on twack we. That is a really bad joke, and it's a really old joke, and I love it. So anyways, so yesterday morning, I'm at work, and it comes up on 9:30 break in the morning, and as per usual, I grab my vape and my phone, and I head out to stand behind the Sonic and play my douche flute. And check my phone and, do what I gotta do. Oh, because I'm not allowed to vape on the premises of my, of my work. I'm not, there's a sign that says no cigarettes, no smokeless tobacco, no e-cigarettes. And I'm sitting there going, fuck you. So I literally walk across the parking lot, and I go stand on the sidewalk behind the Sonic, literally just right on the other side of the fence that separates the parking lot from Sonic in our parking lot. Just go literally stand on the other side of that fence. And I pretend like my favorite car hop is checking out my fundio. He probably isn't, but I like to pretend, so. But I'm checking my phone, and I see that I missed a call, and I was like, oh, okay. Normally I miss a call. Let's see who this is from. And it's from a 325 number, so I was like, oh, okay, so this is possibly a real person. Turns out they left a voicemail, which is wonderful and terrifying at the same time. So I check the voicemail, and it's Sheryl. And she says, hi, I just wanted to make sure you had my number, and I wanted to let you know that you really brightened my day yesterday and made me feel good, and I want to be your friend forever, and I love you. And I was like, oh my gosh. I started crying because it made me feel so good about myself. But it, as I got to thinking about that, it it made me think about that Christmas Eve candlelight service where, passing light around. And and it's not like you have to have a bonfire going in order to light somebody's candle. You just have to have one little flame. And you pass that along. And so, in moments of darkness and sadness and depression, holding on to that little bit of hope, that little bit of light, can help light somebody else's way, and they can light somebody else's way, and they can, and so on and so forth. And this is back in 2006. It was actually literally like a week before I was sexually assaulted. I had one pastor who, we lit the candles, and just before we sang Silent Night, she says, okay, I want to do a little experiment because I want to show you something. She says, okay, everybody, very carefully hold your light down. Like, nobody set a flame to anything, right? But hold your light down. And she goes, look at how this room looks. And and there was light, but it was dim. And she says, okay, everybody, hold your light above your head. And just the difference in that lighting in that sanctuary was just wow. It was immense. And so so like in the intro to this show, and the quote unquote theme song of the show, I say, let's start a fire, let's create some light, hold it up high so we can keep on fighting, and we'll make it through the darkest night. And that's what I'm referring to, is just, you have that little bit of light, but when you hold it up, it illuminates more than if you just keep it close to yourself, And so that was a really cool reminder to myself of why I do this show, why I allow myself to be vulnerable. I'm not to a lot of people I come off as being just like this total open book, and there's a lot that I hold back, even on this show. Believe it or not, there's a lot that I hold back, because in the back of my mind, as I'm recording this show, I'm going, fuck, what if my parents are listening to this? I don't know. And so there's a certain amount of censoring